Imagine you're sitting next to your dad. He is getting better. His lungs are improving, but he's very weak. He was treated for double pneumonia, which is a serious lung infection, especially for someone who's over 75 and has diabetes. Then a woman comes in and she introduces herself as a social worker, and she wants to know if I would want my dad in a senior living place because of his weakness. And how would I want him to be treated in case this happens again? Hello, welcome back to another episode of The Resilient Life with Rosie. Today, I'll be sharing tough topics to have with our elderly parents. I unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because I'm blessed to still have my dad alive, as well as my mom. But this main topic is about my dad, since he was the person who unfortunately got sick early this year, and this tough topic conversation had to take place. I am a physician associate, so I know the lingo of the paperwork that is given to families. Unfortunately, I've had to see it be done with pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, because that was my specialty. But to be a daughter of an elderly parent is totally different because this is my dad. Of course, it's hard for anyone to have this conversation, but with Thanksgiving coming around in 2 weeks and having your parents around, it's important to have that tough topic because you never know. My dad was treated for COVID double pneumonia in January. It took almost 2 months for him to become better. When the social worker came in the room and made a statement of, hey, how do you plan to take care of your dad because your dad is too weak to live by himself? I just looked at her and said, number one, my parents are Haitian. They are from the country of Haiti. My culture, how I was raised, is we take care of our own. So there will be no nursing home for my father. So she said, okay. Then she gave me a website for me to do something called Power of Attorney, which is who will be the person who will be in charge of his health in case he gets worse in the future, and his finances and his belongings. Then she said that she will have someone come visit him while he's at home. I said, sure. So then she said, well, who's planning to take care of him? I said, me. My dad has 4 daughters. I am one of them. When necessary, I will ask the other 3 who will assist. She said, okay. She still gave me the information for a private home health aide and a nursing home in case. Sure, no problem. You are doing your job. So my dad went home. My dad went home. I had a rolling bed at my house, so I brought that over to his place so then I could be with him day in and day out 24/7. It was hard. Number one, my dad is a very stubborn person. So being stubborn and being weak made it worse. By God's grace, by God's mercy, by God's patience, I was able to help him, feeding him, with making sure he was breathing properly, with the oxygen tank that he had to be sent home with. It was very hard to see my dad in this way because he's a very independent man. He walks every day, he does his puzzles every day. He has his own system, his own schedule every single day. At evening, he spends time with God, he reads his Bible, he has his whole him and God time. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to do any of that because he was so weak. All he wanted to do was lie down. So then it got to where I had to go back to work, and it was becoming taxing on me to, as I said, feed him, bathe him, pick him up, pick him down. One of my sisters, which I'm so grateful for, she came up and she helped me with my father for, I believe, a week while I went home just to relax and get myself together because it was very taxing on me to, you know, repeat myself to him and to be patient with him because, as I said, he was weak and he was understanding, but at the same time, sometimes he wanted to be left alone. So it was really hard for me when he sometimes got upset because, as I said, he's a very independent man. So sometimes he would be upset that he wasn't able to feed himself and upset that he couldn't go to the bathroom by himself because I was right behind him and he was like, I can't pee because you're right behind me. And I'm like, dude, you better figure it out because I'm not going anywhere in case you fall. And so, as I said, it's very hard for the elderly to be sick, especially when they've been independent for so long. And as a caregiver, we have to be patient with them and understanding with them because, yes, it is rough for us, but imagine how they are feeling that they have lost their independence because their body won't allow them to get better because they are so weak. Eventually, praise God, my dad did get better. Then it was time to do the paperwork because I told him once he gets better and healthy, we will do the paperwork. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Also, you can follow us on YouTube under Rosie Resilient for Tea Time, Truth Time on Saturdays. Here are 5 main questions. 3 of them I will share today, and next week you'll hear the next 2 questions that you will have to ask your elderly mother, your elderly father, your elderly guardian, grandparents, aunt, uncle, whoever is an elderly person, or even if your parents are in their 60s, still do a power of attorney for them because, as I said, you never know. And it's best to have it done while they're healthy and well versus when they are in the hospital and you're crying and you're having all these questions asked of you. It's like, hello, do you see me crying over my sick elderly parent or guardian? But you asking me these tough questions that I can't answer right now. So it's important to have those questions asked when everyone is good versus at that time where you honestly don't want to answer that question. One of the questions asked is, do you want your organs to be donated or the body to be donated to medical study program? So there is a person, because I remember when I was younger, I almost worked for the Eye Donation Center where a person comes in when a person is deceased and asks the family member, does this person want their eyes to be donated? There are people that will be awaiting organ donation the moment a person is dead. So it's important to know right now versus being asked that when you just lost somebody. The second question that is asked is, if there's a terminal condition where the condition is irreversible, so the person cannot get better or no cure, does this individual want a feeding tube, which is usually placed through the stomach, which is on the abdomen, or fluids, once again, through a tube that's placed through the abdomen, or a breathing machine that is placed in the neck to assist with breathing? The person is unconscious, where they're unable to speak, they're unable to respond to you. So it's important to know for those 2 conditions, how does the person want to have life prolonged? Do they want a feeding tube? Do they want fluids? Do they want a breathing machine? And also, in case their heart stops or a pulse is not felt, do they want CPR, which is a way to resuscitate the heart to pump blood throughout the body? So, that also is a question that is asked. Once again, very hard to even think about questions like that when the person is right in front of you fighting for their lives. But these are questions that are best to know prior to this occurring. In the meantime, it's important to love and hug your parents, forgive them, because just remember they're human beings. And just like us, we have made mistakes. Love your parents, forgive them, especially if you have a rough patch with your parents. Call them today, let them know you love them. Make sure that if they don't have a power of attorney, to make sure that discussion is made this month before the end of the year. So at least it will be taken care of, and also to make sure you get it all notarized, because if it's not notarized, it's not legal. And plus, you do not want someone else outside of the family making decisions about your family member. Join our email list today. The next two questions will be saved for next week, so make sure you tune in for the next episode of part 2 of Tough Topics to Have with the Elderly. Till next time, stay resilient.